Hey guys, so watching the debate last night, I was struck by just how many opportunities Bernie Sanders had to deliver punishing blows to Joe Biden, how many openings Joe Biden gave him, but Bernie Sanders didn't take them. Yeah, he criticized Biden's record enough, but he didn't really go for the kill shot that would have been necessary to win enough delegates in the next contest to secure the nomination. But he also wasn't friendly enough to Biden to be able to convince his supporters to rally around Biden if he ends up winning the nomination. So we wanted to put out a couple of videos today showing some of those moments that Bernie Sanders had an opening, but he didn't take it. And so this is going to be explaining what he should have said to Biden and what Trump obviously will say to Biden when they meet on the debate stage against each other. So we're going to listen briefly to this question. It's about whether people should listen to the medical experts. And then I'm going to deliver the response that Bernie Sanders should have delivered if he actually wanted to win this debate. Let's listen.
Thank you, Senator. Vice President Biden, some medical experts are saying the only true way to control this virus is through a national quarantine, requiring every American other than essential personnel to stay home. Would you take that unprecedented step of a national lockdown?
What I would do is what we did in our administration. I would call a meeting in the Situation Room of all the experts in America dealing with this crisis. I would sit them down and I would do exactly what we did then. What is it that we need? Listen to the experts. What do we need? And with all due respect to Medicare for All, you have a single payer system in Italy. It doesn't work there. It has nothing to do with Medicare for All. That would not solve the problem at all. We can take care of that right now by making sure that no one has to pay for treatment.
Okay, so the gist of it was that Biden says that we should be listening to the medical experts, that we should be, Trump or whoever's president should be convening a panel of experts and should be listening to their professional opinion and using those opinions to guide their policy. So if Bernie Sanders wanted to deliver the kill shot to Biden, this is what he should have said. He should have said, Joe Biden, let's talk about experts. Your campaign just hired a man named Ezekiel Emanuel, right here. Ezekiel Emanuel. He is one of the architects of the Affordable Care Act. And Ezekiel Emanuel, on top of all of the other crazy quotes that he has out there, is of the opinion that 75 is a good age to die. 75 is the point at which you've lived long enough, and medical care after that is A, too expensive, and B, restrictive and can serve as more of a punishment than palliative care, right? So Ezekiel Emanuel is now Joe Biden's coronavirus expert. So the easy response is, okay, Joe, you want to listen to the experts. Why are you taking advice from someone who believes that 75 is a good age to die? We're seeing in Italy how when medical personnel are overwhelmed, they are saying that 80-year-olds will not receive care. If they have to ration care, they will leave the elderly to die, just like they're basically treating this like a wartime hospital with triage, trying to figure out who has the best chance of survival. So Joe Biden, why would you take advice from someone who believes that 75-year-olds, that's a good age to die? Joe Biden, do you believe that 75-year-olds should just die instead of receiving care? Do you agree with the medical expert that your campaign has hired? Joe Biden, you are over 75 years old. Do you believe that if you got the coronavirus, they should not give you life-saving care and that you should just be allowed to die? Joe, how old should someone be? How old should someone be before medical professionals turn them away for treatment, right? What's the age, Joe? You said listen to the experts, and your expert has said that there is a certain age, whether it's 75 or some other number, where people are simply too old to receive care. It's too expensive and it isn't worth it. It ends up being more of a punishment than a treatment. So the question Bernie should have asked Joe is, what's the age, Joe? Your expert says 75. What age do you believe we should set to tell medical professionals to stop caring for Americans? What age do you think it should be? That is the response that Bernie Sanders should have given to this line of questioning. That is the response. But the reason he couldn't give this is because that is a hallmark of all socialized medicine. When the government controls medicine and the government has to ration a finite amount of resources to a large population, just like health insurance companies do, the government has to pick and choose what's covered and what isn't. And eventually it gets to the point where someone is too old to receive care. Now, that's how socialist medicine works. And we see that in Italy, as I mentioned now, where the average age for a coronavirus fatality, I think I was reading this today, it's 81. That's the average age of people who have died from coronavirus. And almost everyone who has died is over 60 years old. So when you look at that, the reason that Bernie couldn't make this argument is because it applies to his program as well. If the government is going to give Medicare to everyone, then at some point, people become too old and too sick to treat, and it doesn't make sense, and it's a drain on resources, right? These were the quote-unquote death panels that were feared when the Affordable Care Act passed, right? It's the idea that when government controls something, they have to ration it, and obviously there's going to be people who do not deserve care because it's not worth it. So that's what Bernie Sanders should have said if he wasn't already weakened by the argument. But if he really cared about his base, if he wanted to win this, he would have attacked that line of questioning, because that was a big story this week that Joe Biden's new coronavirus advisor believes that 75 is a good age to die and to stop receiving medical treatments. So if you want to see more videos like this, please make sure that you subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and leave a comment about what you think Bernie should have said in this situation, or whether you think that it's fair to call Biden out on this. Let us know in the comments below.